I've been trying to decide what I was going to talk about in this episode. It's been 14 episodes of me releasing this vlog to be as authentic as possible. You know, an authentic servant, an authentic father, an authentic business owner, a brother, a son. And there's something really heavy in my heart that I wanted to share. And I hope there's something you're going to get from this, especially my boys who watch this much later in life. I want to talk about my parents. Very touchy subject for a lot of people, I understand, even for myself. But right now, I actually live with my parents, or we all live together. See, I'm 37 years old. I have 2 sons. I'm married. I have a son on the way in the next 4 weeks. I run my own company. But at 37, I somehow live with my parents. Am I failing? No. Last year, with what happened with the venture with KWD, it really affected my family, my immediate family, and those that helped me out, my brother who helped me out with that business, and my friends. There was a massive shift in risk in our assets, right? And it was really bad because I made these decisions and financially it just didn't work out. It risked Magco, who was funding the whole project, and I had to make some decisions. Part of the decision that we made was that my mum and dad had actually asked prior if we could all live together. The reason being was they're getting a bit older, right? They housed my sister, who's 17 now, or at the time was 16. And I knew if we all lived together, it would help us all financially. You know, it would cut down the cost. My dad at the time had no job, he'd been made redundant, and he was struggling. So I knew that because he was going through that, we were going through that. If we were to live together, it would help us all out financially. That was the main goal. I say financially over and over again because that was the main reason of living together. You know, dad was redundant, mum was a sole income earner, and I was going through my liquidation with KWD and a massive shift in our financials. Why not? So we moved in together. Now we've lived together probably, I think, about close to 4 months now. And I want to share some key things that I've learned living with my parents. Excuse the background noise, there's a fit out happening next door. Authentic as, right? Don't want to just find the best time to record this video, which I did try, but this is the best time. Here's the 4 things I want to share. Number 1, I've noticed that my parents have changed. They've grown up too. Yes, these grown-ups have grown up. What I mean about that is my parents, my mum and dad, who I haven't lived at home, or it's not at home, I haven't lived with my parents for 2 decades, right? Close to 2 decades. So the people that I remember living with or living under are not the same people I'm living with now. I'm not the same person either. But why I share this is because you have an image and understanding of your parents, your father and mother, and normally it's determined by those years that you spent with them, the amount of time you spent with them when you were young. I couldn't wait to move out of home. You know, that was something I did at a very young age. And I had a very strong understanding of who they were. That's not who they are now. And I've realized they've grown up a lot. You know, they're in their 60s. My dad's retired. My mum's turning 60, or is 60, sorry. And they're not the same people in their 40s. And that's a massive difference. The people that I spend time with now, they're not the same people that I used to spend time with. And I've noticed how much they've grown. And I share that because they've changed. And what I'm trying to explain is that any resentment, any hurt, any trauma, anything that I held against them, they're not the same people. The people from 20 years ago ain't the same people I'm seeing now 20 years later. How can I hold the same resentment, the same trauma, the same issues when I'm not the same person anymore? It's almost unfair. They're different people. They really are. After these 2 decades, they've grown up. The second thing I've noticed is, the best way I can explain it is the innocence in their eyes. I don't know how to better explain this. I see this innocence in their eyes. I heard not too long ago a reel where this person said she noticed her mother enjoying this train ride, and then she saw her mother looking outside in this train ride just smiling, and she said, I've realized now this is my mum's first time too, first life too. As in, they're experiencing these things for the first time ever, being a grandparent, being 60, having grandkids, being a parent in general. And I see the innocence in their eyes in the sense that they're just living life for the first time as well. They're learning themselves right now how to deal with being retired or being made redundant at a later age, or having grandkids or having adult kids, and still working, trying to navigate this life. And I see the joy sometimes in their eyes, that they're trying to just enjoy life. When you're a son, and when you're a kid, you look at your parents in a way that they're providers. You know, they're almost supposed to be there to provide for us. We almost hold them accountable to only provide for us because we're their sons or their daughters. But in reality, they also too have a life. Now, where that balance is in their provision and their own, their self-care, I get that's where some of the issues lie for a lot of people, including myself. But now that I've seen them in that lens, I have so much sympathy and empathy. I see myself in their shoes and how my kids would react, you know. I feel sorry for them almost, because I ask myself, to have my parents achieve all the goals that they set out in life? I don't believe the answer is yes. And they're just trying to get through what they currently are experiencing now. And it almost hurts me sometimes because, you know, we've never been well off, or maybe when we were back in the Philippines, but since we've moved to New Zealand 30 years ago, you know, by definition, we're almost poor. We are rich in our family and we're blessed, don't get me wrong. I'm saying we're blessed because we have way more than most people in this world, but by the definition of a first world country, we're below middle class and we're lower middle class at best. That's most of our lives. You know, my parents have just tried to get by. The third thing I realize is that I underestimated how we moved in together financially, but how important it is to be around my parents. Not just for me, but for my kids, for my wife. You know, her parents are, one's in Hamilton, one's far in South Auckland, and we don't spend much time together. But being around them has given me a sense of comfort and peace in a way that I never felt even when I was living with them as a teenager. I must have felt it as a kid, but as a teenager, I didn't feel that way. It's just these are the people that created you with God. They're your DNA. These are your mum and dad. You know, you came from them. And there's an immense feeling there that I can't explain, that seeing my sons and my wife spend time with them, you know, the relationship that my dad has with my wife and my sons, the jokes he makes with them, or the way my mother is with my wife and my sons, it's just, it makes me smile. Things that I never enjoyed, because yes, we would hang out in the past, but that would be family lunches and family dinners. It was never to this extent, where there was quality time spent. You know, private time in your home spent with your parents. It's really special. And the last thing is, man, generational living is important. I didn't know. You know, I grew up in an Eastern culture, but I was born in an Eastern culture, grew up in a Western culture where the New Zealand people don't live with their parents as they get older. In the Philippines, they do, right? That's the culture we're in. We have generational living, the grandparents, the parents, and the kids. And you would look after the grandparents because they looked after you when you were young, and you would house them. The retirement homes didn't exist, in my opinion, you know. And now I know why generational living helps. It helps everyone. This is how you raise a family with a village. That village is your family. Housing your parents, and again, I know it's not possible for everyone, I understand. I know that there's so much more dynamics with relationships and trauma and problems with everyone else, and I'm very blessed and very lucky. But the fact that I'm able to do this, I realize how important generational living is. I wouldn't have it any other way. I know we're very early into this, but I can honestly say this is the happiest my family's been in a very, very long time, if not ever. In the sense that I can see the happiness of my wife, the happiness of my kids, the community that we have in dinners at night. It is just such a blessing. A blessing that I wanted to share, because if there's people out there that are able to even experience that or have the opportunity to have that, I recommend it. It's not easy, of course not. You know, you're living in close quarters. You have to be selfless. You can't be selfish. You know, you have to have sacrifice, because you have to sacrifice your own way of living to accommodate others, as you would with your partner that you was a stranger at one point. I share this because I know there's people out there that still have access to their parents, and we're so fortunate, because I know so many people that would just do anything to spend another moment with their mum and dad, and they can't. And here we are with our parents, thinking that we've spent time with them, And now I understand why they say that you've spent 90% of your time with your kids by the time of 18, because after that they move out and you don't really see them often enough. And that scares me as a parent. I want to spend time with my kids. I want generational living with my kids and grandkids. And I understand the importance of it now. My kids are happier, my wife is happier, my parents are happier. We all contribute towards bettering our lives. You know, it's a contribution. Everything is more affordable. Everything is much more accessible, right? There's better food, there's better laughs, there's better comfort, there's better privacy and security. There really is. There's better memories. I never thought living with my parents at 37 years old would make me happier. If you told me 4 months ago this was purely a financial decision, now it's growing my spirit, it's growing me, it's growing my family. And I just thank God for the opportunity that I'm able to have time with this, because I know that I'm facing so many things that I hadn't faced before because of this situation that I'm in. I recommend it, man.